Welcome to Finance Series with Oyekemi Ajayi. It is a great pleasure to connect with you. I have a special guest. His name is Dr. Ayodeji Ebo. He is an investment professional and the managing director, Pluto's New by Afri Invest. He is going to be talking about 2026 outlook, the impact for businesses and individuals in Nigeria. As a business, what are the things that you need to do to help you stay investment ready and profitable in the new year? And as an individual, how do you create more wealth? These are the things that we are going to be talking about in this podcast. Let's dive in. Welcome, Dr. Ayo. Good to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for making our time out of your very busy schedule. Thank you so much.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you. All right, so let's dive into the podcast. So my first question is on the macroeconomic indicators. What is the outlook for the year? And what impacts do you think these indicators have on businesses?
Okay, very interesting question. And the way I would start it is that it has to be also scenario based because the variables, I would be speaking about some of the variables that we need to pay attention to, our businesses needs to pay attention to. So starting with the first one, would be interest rates, which is key. So interest rate from a place of where you earn income, and there's interest rate from the cost of funds.
Yeah.
So when you look at for a business, you need to first of all look at the interest rate environment. Most times businesses take loans on floating rates. So you see MPR plus this. And so when you need to pay attention to MPC, that's Monetary Policy Committee's decisions. If there's going to be an increase in interest rates, that means it would impact. The bank will write you. Most times we say prices are sticky downwards in Nigeria. When rates are cut, we don't get, or the banks don't advise that they review rate downwards. So there's a need to pay attention to that. But in terms of the outlook this year, we expect that the first half rate will remain elevated, means it will remain high. And towards the second half, it will begin to taper down. And the reason for this is that when you look at the budget deficit of about 23 trillion, there will be a need to the front load. You want to raise those funding early so that you're able to use them for some of the obligations that have been highlighted in the budget. So that's really very important to note that for businesses and how it impacts. So tracking the cost of fund will help you determine how it also impacts on your sales, how to add that. Then exchange rates, the outlook is that it should still remain stable for now, given some of the policies that have been introduced around the B-match and liquidity. The downside risk is that if we see any major external shock, which is for crude oil prices that is elongated, that may change the direction. And also, it's also good to pay attention to government spending. So as a business, when you see that government will be spending a lot to a particular sector, the health sector, infrastructure, it's manufacturing, then it means that there are opportunities, because as they spend money, there is what some of the value chain within that space. So you need to pay attention to that, and that will also be a major defining factor, because it's good to look at how it will impact on your business, and you see how you want to take advantage of the opportunity. Because I always tell businesses, in the midst of the uncertainty, there's always the opportunity, and that's what a lot of the foreign guys see more about Nigeria. You see them, they see within that uncertainty, they see that there's always the opportunity. So my advice for businesses is always first have that mindset that the opportunity will be there. So what can we do as a business? If things are changing, how do you also change? And that's why scenario-based tracking those things are really very important. The variables that we have, some of these variables that we highlighted, will be tracked weekly to see how we impact. So you don't already go and make sales, and after that you discover that things have changed and it will impact on when you want to reorder. So all those things are really important to take note.
Okay, there's something I'd like to add. And when I was working as a corporate finance manager, I also did treasury. And for us then, when interest rates goes down, so maybe MPR drops, we typically write to the banks requesting for a reduction in rates. And I mean, not in all cases, but a lot of times we get the reduction. So I think it's something that a lot of businesses can also explore. So you need to make it official, write to the banks, stating, reasons why you would request for a reduction in the rates, and then support by discussing with your relationship officer and then taking it down to the bank.
And that's if I had, and that was possible because you were tracking those decisions. Whether your why it's important that you know what is going on and you see how it impacts on your business.
So in terms of cash flows, in terms of pricing, when businesses track this and there's a change, what is your suggestion? Is it for them to increase prices or like push it down to the consumers, or maybe it's take up more? Because even the consumers too, disposable income too is there are lots of things that are demanding for that disposable income. So as a business owner, what would your perspective be? And is it all costs you can push down, or there are some that you have to maybe consider alternative raw materials or something? What's your take on that?
Okay, my view, the first thing you need to do as a business is understand the type of business, understanding the type of business that you are into. Right? Is it a monopolistic type of business that you're in monopoly, or very competitive with, say, perfect competition? You live very competitive. And the products that you also sell, how in terms of its elasticity, is it when you change price, will people move for, are there substitutes? So these are the things you first need to know before you think you need to adjust price. So secondly, if now becomes very necessary, before adjusting your price, that's your selling price, you need to also go back to your suppliers and see whether you can negotiate more. So especially if you're already a business that you've already been supporting them, your ordering level has been increasing, you may be entitled to a discount. They may now see a reason why they may want to give you a discount, which would impact and even maybe give you days that they supply, and you don't need to use your bank overdraft again, and that will reduce your cost of fund. A supplier and say pay after 90 days, and when you look at your cycle that when you produce and within that 90 days you have also sold, so that would also be an option. But if you have also explored all those options, then you know that there's nothing more that you will need to do than increasing the price. And you rightly said, because disposable income is also shrinking, there's also a limit. But when you are going to a business, so if you know you're in very essential areas, that you see like those in the food, number one, no, anyhow, people will still find a way that they need to eat and they need to sustain themselves. So if you're in that space, even if price increased by 50%, still know that people, yes, they may look for a bit of alternative, but understanding that is important. And I would say that tracking your cost is important in business, because when we looked at what happened when we had volatility in exchange rates, we discovered that a lot of businesses, the reason why businesses were shutting down is that they were selling at their historical costs. So for instance, buy a phone at 1 million, maybe at an exchange rate then of 1,000 naira to $1. But before, when you are selling, maybe you are selling while you are selling, exchange rate had moved to 1,500. You know that if you sell at the rate of 1,000 naira, you will not be able to buy that same product or buy the same quantity of that product. So it's always important to track the cost. Now, bit of tax, you need to, this period that in Nigeria we're not fully used to this tax system. So you may need to even engage like a consultant to help you, because it's more expensive not to be compliant. So compliance is cheaper, that you understand what to do, and it's not a crime for tax planning. Call it tax plan. So when you plan your tax to reduce your liability, these are some of the things that would also help you reduce the ability to push to your customer. Because if you are in a very competitive environment, it means that you may lose market share. It means that your customers may look for substitutes. So, and once you see that is happening, it will impact on your production, right? And
as well.
when you look at the profitability too. So these things you have to be close. And we say for businesses, scenario planning is always the best. Now, what happens when this happens? What do we do? When exchange rates moves up, what do I do immediately? So you need to develop models for that, or even if you don't use a model, have an idea that if exchange rate moves to 1.7 tomorrow, what rate am I going to sell? If interest rate moves to currently what we call the lending rate, maximum lending rate is over 30%. That's for the retail, compared to the prime that is still around 20-something%. If that increase, then how do you transfer? You need to know that, not when it happens. So you always have to be proactive and not being reactive after it has happened, because every minute it can cost you a lot, especially as you grow bigger.
So what I get from this, in fact, you said a lot actually. Spoken about market structure, you've spoken about the elasticity of your products, how would your quantity demanded be impacted if there is a change in price, and then you've also mentioned other factors that need to be taken into consideration, negotiation with your suppliers, and a lot more. So what I get is, as a company, you don't necessarily need to first make the decision of increasing price. You need to think about other factors, other dynamics that would impact the business, see if you can possibly reduce those costs before making such decisions. So which I think is very, very, very important for businesses. And what key thing that stood out is adaptability. So right now, exchanges is quite stable, or relatively stable, and it's good. Well, we expect improvement basically, but if anything happens, we are also saying that businesses must be adaptable. You don't have to be rigid. You said something about even getting your tax consultant and all that, so that you can plan well in case, anything comes up and you're ready. So my next question is around being investment ready as a business. How do you think, or what are those things that the businesses needs to begin to implement to position themselves for potential growth? So growth can be done organically, and it can be through acquisitions and all that. So if you're a business and you're looking to grow inorganically, like maybe you're open for mergers and acquisitions and all that, how would you position yourself in this time?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. And the first thing I would say is record keeping. You have to begin to keep your records. You need to also do business open a bank account in the business name, because what happens with a lot of small businesses that sometimes they don't even know they've grown is that they send you personal accounts when you do business with them and do transactions with them. So you need to keep that record, because when the investor comes, the first point of call would be, can we see the transactions you have been doing? So you'd say, okay, my turnover is 100 million per month. It can't transactions to back that up. Your statement needs to review the transaction, because when you sell, they pay into the bank when you provide services. So you need to keep records. Also, corporate governance is also very key these days, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You can collaborate, look for people that you think have a bit of experience on what you do, that also add value, that can join your board. For some of them, it's not immediately that they will understand to support you to provide that experience, that in terms of the fees that you have to pay. Or we can even find, like we call it advisory, brother. Like some people will say mentors, that okay, this is what I'm doing. They already know that they're in this, maybe you are in the real estate space. You see people that they've done a lot of development within that space. It's good to learn from them. Like Bishop Oyedepo would say that it's good to read books that you also want to learn from their mistake as they've grown. So as you are coming up, you want to learn from the mistakes those people have made. So that's also really very, very important that you need to note even as a business.
Right. Thank you very much. So on final notes, what would you say for businesses, particularly with the advent of AI? We see a lot of changes. We see a lot of things in the workplace. So how would a business position itself well for growth, even with the advent of AI?
Okay, thank you very much. First thing, we need to know that artificial intelligence is here to stay. We need to first change our mentality, because if we want to continue to do things in the traditional way, you will not be efficient, you will not be competitive at all. So once you first admit that, then the next step is you may need to go for some trainings to see how AI is applicable to your business. You are in the consulting space, service space. There are different AI tools that you can use that can help you service 5 clients with ease compared to having 1 client and you want to do it the traditional way. Yeah, so people shy away from saying, chat GPT. Yes, there's the discussion around data protection, right?
Secure.
But for some, if you are also using the paid version, it also helps if it's as a business and it to help you churn out. Because the first thing is that as a business, you understand what you're already doing. So by using a tool does not take away from your knowledge. The tool is not always perfect, right? But it's your knowledge that will also help you to tune it. So why do you want to start from scratch? You are going going online. You can even listen to YouTube videos. Microsoft have their own co-pilots that you can use. Google also have, they also have their own that they've also introduced. Grok is also there. So these are the tools you need to understand. For PowerPoint presentations, there are also tools that automatically reduce the number of hours you spend in providing proposals. Your client needs a proposal and you are using 1 week it will go with another person. But if you can use AI, pay for AI to help you start it. So I'm not saying it's not going to be perfect, because you also have to be careful, and that's why they put that caveat. There can be typos, the data can be wrong. So you must first understand the business or what you want to do first before you rely. So I won't advise 100% reliance on AI. You need to look at that. Data analytics is also key. How can you use machine learning? They integrate with machine learning that they continue to mine your data and can help you. In investment space, this is a robo-advisory is what people are looking forward to. How are you able to come up with what investors will not need to think? So as a business, there is a need. The era has changed, and there's a need for you to see how AI can best be integrated with your business.
Thank you very much. It's been an amazing time with you. A lot of things have even come out. Another thing you've spoken about is corporate governance pattern, and having a proper structure in your business if you want to be investment ready, because no investor would want to come into your business if there's no structure in place, if you don't have proper records in place, if you don't have the right governance structure in your business. These are many more things that investors would look out for. And then you've also spoken about efficiency with the use of AI. And I think it's very critical for businesses, because we are looking for areas that we can reduce costs or optimize our costs basically. So if this tool helps us to be efficient, why not? And if not, you just need that deliberate involvement of the individual or the staff, the personnel, because like you said, you need that human element to review what has been gotten from AI. You can't just get the proposal and send it out like that. You have to make sure it is tailored to suit the objective in which it's meant to be achieved. So thank you so much for your time. I don't know if you have any words of wisdom or advice for mid-sized business holders and entrepreneurs out there before we go.
Okay, thanks. So what I would say is that always focus on the opportunities. The environments that we play in can be demoralizing. We can keep talking about the challenges, the why government is not supporting, but amidst that, always focus on the opportunities. There would always be opportunity, and that should always be your focus. And once you have that idea and you focus on it, you will see that you will make more progress than continue to think of the challenges.
Thank you very much. Focus on the opportunities. And let me add one more: stay adaptable. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, and have a great one.